welcome to another video. I'm John, your guide through the job application and job hunting process. So I think the number one thing that the clients I work with when I'm working one-on-one with people, helping them prepare resumes, apply for jobs, and get ready for interviews, there's a few things I hear frequently, but perhaps one of the number one concerns people have, or one of the top things they voice to me, is that they're absolutely dreadful at doing interviews. They're nervous. They don't know how to prepare. They don't know how to answer questions. So I'm going to cover 8 basic steps or 8 basic points for you to keep in mind when going for your next interview. Number 1, conduct your research into the company. Now, I've held thousands of interviews, and I would often ask people, why are you interested in working for us? Why are you interested in working for this client? What motivates you about your application to this particular job? And very frequently, it became obvious that people hadn't done their research. They were just applying for any job. A recruiter, especially if you're applying directly to a company, a recruiter wants to see that you're very invested in your application, that you have done your homework, that you know what they're all about, and that you see yourself as being a fit for that organization. So do some homework into the company, their origins, where they operate, their key product lines, their key service lines. Number 2, develop an elevator pitch. Now, an elevator pitch is that 30-second, 1-minute statement you have that explains who you are and what you bring to the table. So if you're in sales, for example, it could be, I'm a business development professional and I'm incredibly motivated about making a connection between clients and the companies I work for. Ultimately, I seek really optimal outcomes for everybody involved. So whatever it is you're involved in, whatever your niche, your job, your profession, try to create a very quick story about who you are and, importantly, the value that you bring. Number 3, and this might sound fairly basic, but you'd be surprised, know every aspect of your resume. Become very familiar with all of the points you've included, all of the numbers and all of the stats you've given. I heard it many times when I would question somebody on a particular aspect of their resume, and surprisingly, they would say, oh, that shouldn't be in there. Be very familiar with every aspect, every line, every key point in your resume, and be ready to answer questions when they ask you to elaborate further on certain points. Number 4, now this is fairly obvious, but again, I saw many people violate this one. Dress appropriately for the interview and be on time. And I think I've told the story before. The one that sticks out in my mind was the fellow who showed up for an interview on rollerblades. He took the rollerblades off and walked into the interview wearing just his socks. I'm not suggesting you wear a 3-piece suit or you dress overly formally. Try to learn a little bit about the company, about the culture, to see how people do tend to dress at work. Is it business casual? Is it formal? Is it very relaxed? Now, whatever the dress code is, I do suggest you kind of take it just a little bit further. So if it is business casual, then, if they're wearing, people wear just trousers and a shirt, maybe throw on a sports jacket, maybe throw on a tie. Doesn't have to be a formal suit, but try to just elevate it just a little bit beyond what the daily dress of the day is. Number 5 is your body language and overall deportment. Basic rules and etiquette when meeting somebody: make eye contact, shake hands firmly, and if you're one-on-one, wait for the interviewer to sit down and wait for them to invite you to sit down. But importantly, be on time. Number 6, this is a more challenging one, is overcome your nerves. Everybody is nervous before an interview. If anybody says they're not nervous, I would question that. Some people do very well at the interview stage and it comes to them very naturally. Now, for a lot of people, that's not the case. Try to think of, based upon your resume, the questions they may ask you. They're going to ask you questions on how you dealt with challenging circumstances or challenging situations in the past. They'll ask you questions around how you relate with other people, how you engage new clients, new customers, if you're involved in, say, a business development role. Visualize the interview before you go. Picture in your mind walking into the interview meeting room, shaking hands with the interviewer, sitting down. Visualize them asking you questions about your resume. The more you can prepare mentally for the interview, the better it will go. And if you need any refreshers on in answering challenging interviewing questions, check out the earlier video I have, which covers BDI interviews. Now, I rarely saw this, and when I did, it definitely stood out, and it positioned the candidate in a very much smaller group. Number 7, always send a thank you follow-up note. It could be an email, it could be a quick letter. I don't think people are really writing letters anymore. It could be a message through LinkedIn. Always send a thank you, thanking them for their time, how it was great meeting them. What this also does, it reminds them of you, and it reminds them to check out your resume again, to review the interview notes, and hopefully give you a call back. Lastly, but not least, prepare some questions for the interviewer. At the end of every interview, they'll always ask, do you have any questions? 99 times out of 100, the answer from a candidate was generally, no, I think you've answered everything. Go in a little bit stronger than that. Again, you've done your research on the company. Ask them about their growth plans. Ask them about how the new office opening is going. A great question to always ask is, what are the expectations of me or of a new employee at 30, 60, and 90 days? What are the metrics that one has to attain? Now, 30, 60, and 90 days tends to mirror the evaluation periods that most companies use to assess whether or not a new hire will make it in the long term. Ask questions about, again, the performance metrics you have to attain. Ask about any professional development opportunities that exist. Now, they might ask you, what's one of your weaknesses? Choose something that's not very deal-breaking. Say, for example, if you're applying for a sales role, say that you're great with most CRM platforms. Salesforce is not one of your greatest. Do you have any opportunities where I can further develop my Salesforce skills? So you're turning a bit of a negative into a positive, showing that you're coachable, trainable, and that you're willing to learn. So try to have at least 2 questions to ask the interviewer at the end of the interview. Just an hour of research and preparation before will position you very well during your interview. Do your research, be well prepared, be on time, have questions, and importantly, visualize the interview. Picture in your mind them asking you questions, and importantly, picture in your mind them phoning you and offering you the job. Best of luck. I hope this was of help. If you haven't, I'd appreciate you subscribing to this channel. Drop me any comments or questions below as some great interview tips that you've had or that have helped you in the past. It'll be great to read them. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next video.